Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to cruise a little smarter. I'm your host, Lake, and I am flying solo, but I have such an exciting episode, one that Christy will be so sad to miss because we are heading up to Alaska today. Our first recording of the 2026 Alaska season as well. And this is just one of my absolute favorite itineraries to discuss. Alaska is amazing, the ports are amazing, and we just always have so much fun. And everyone does such different things in these ports. Someone is always like, oh man, I just booked that thing that someone did on your episode from last year that I hadn't heard of. I am excited to jump in and hear what sort of adventures we get up to today. But to do that, we need to welcome our guest to the show. I would like to welcome Areeka to the show. Areeka, how are you today?
Hi, Lake. How are you? I'm doing well. Super excited.
I, too, am very excited. Thank you so much for filling out the Be a Part of the Show form and asking to come on the show.
Really excited to share our first Alaska sailing, but as we get through, you'll see that it definitely won't be our last.
I love it. Well, why don't we go ahead and start with, tell us a little bit about who sailed with you, and then what is your kind of cruising and Disney background?
Myself, my son, who's 2, and my husband, along with my father-in-law. This was actually his first longer sailing, my father-in-law. My son, my husband, and myself, we did a little bit of a test drive Disney cruise a couple months ago on the Wish. So this ended up being our second longer cruise, second Disney cruise as well. We originally booked this cruise about a little bit over a year ago and decided we didn't want it to be our first real cruise, first Disney cruise. I wanted to see how Disney does things, the check-in, the port arrival time, the booking excursions. So we decided to take a little bit of a test cruise, which is why we booked the Wish, a quick 3-night back in March.
So then before you even did that test cruise, first cruise you ever book, Alaska on Disney Cruise Line, what drew you to that itinerary and to DCL?
So this year my husband turned 35 and we switch off. We do a lot of traveling and we switch off deciding where we go next. This was his choice for his 35th that he wanted to do an Alaska cruise. We were going back and forth about bringing my son, if it was a good idea to bring him. And then ultimately he was like, nope, if I'm doing this for my birthday, our son needs to be there. So I was like, great, we're going to do Disney then, because I have always wanted to do a Disney cruise. We're Disney people. It was almost the perfect blend of his birthday trip wish, but also something that the entire family would enjoy. We eventually mentioned it to my father-in-law, and within seconds, we immediately booked him as well. He was really interested in doing the Alaska sailing as well.
Awesome. With the hindsight of having done both those sailings, the 3-night on the Wish and Alaska, did you find value out of doing that test sailing with that 3-night on the Wish?
100%. Totally. From figuring out if we were going to book with an agent or booking alone, or the check-in process being easier, the being silver for Alaska, so we got to book some of those excursions sooner, which I'll get into. It was definitely worth it to kind of do a quick 3-night. And it helped us realize that the 7-night wouldn't have been too long for us or too much for us, because we felt like the 3-night was like a blink. It was way too soon. Quick. So it was good that we ended up doing that test cruise to try to figure out what we liked and what we didn't like and kind of get into that flow.
Was there any takeaway from that 3-night that had a change on how you ended up planning that 7-night, other than being able to book things earlier?
No, we used a Disney travel agent for it. So she was great. She kind of gave us all the information. So the only thing I would say is I learned not to do a million things on the cruise, because either it's going to happen on another day or you're so tired at the end of it that it wasn't even feeling like a vacation. So I'm glad we booked it, and I'm glad we were able to do that 3-night to prepare for the 7-night.
All right. Well, let's go ahead because our focus is this Alaskan sailing and go ahead and make our way to the port. You sail out of Vancouver. How did you get up to the port, and did you do any pre or post night stays?
Our sailing was Monday, May 18th. We headed over to Vancouver Saturday, May 16th. We had like a late evening flight. So we didn't get to Vancouver until late at night on that Saturday. We stayed at a regular Hilton Vancouver downtown. My husband's Hilton Gold, so we had a couple of free night vouchers to use. So we figured, let's do that. We did not stay at the Fairmont or the Pan Pacific. This Hilton was a couple of blocks away from the port, so it was nice. The next day we kind of walked around and saw where we were, saw how close we were to the port, but we did still take a cab the next morning. Pre-stay stuff, we kind of just walked around the area. We went to Stanley Park. My son wanted to go to the aquarium. There's also the totem pole park along the water. All of it was very nice. One thing I will tell your viewers with children, and this is something that I overlooked, and I normally do the research, but I guess I just didn't do as much research on Vancouver. You cannot use an Uber or Lyft without a car seat. That's standard in New York. I should have known that. So if you are traveling with a car seat aged child, you cannot use Uber and Lyft in Vancouver. You can use a yellow taxi, though, and you could just Google that number that you can arrange pickups and drop-offs. But that's something we kind of learned that when we were there. Again, overlooked, should have been common knowledge to me. I should have known that. But Vancouver is beautiful, though. I'm sure people have lots of other things to do. We wanted to take that Sunday to take it easy and get more excited for the cruise. We did get to see the Magic because they were leaving that day for their, I believe, first sailing. So that was nice seeing how close we were to Canada Place and how beautiful the Magic was as well.
Well, then you move into your next day and it is time to embark on your ship, the Disney Wonder.
Yes.
How was that embarkation process like?
Smoother than I thought it was. I was reading a lot of forums that were saying that Vancouver, because there's so many boats and Disney doesn't technically have its own area, that sometimes it can get a little chaotic. Thankfully, we were only boarding with the Norwegian, I don't remember the ship name. So yes, a lot of people, but very smooth. It was like one side for Norwegian, one side for Disney. Super easy. Because my husband, myself, and my son were now Silver, we had a little bit of an earlier port arrival time. This was my father-in-law's first cruise, so his port arrival time was 12 to 12:15. We were just like half an hour earlier than he was, so we just waited with him. I think we got to the port around 11:45 just to drop our bags. There's a ton of signs. There's a lot of people directing you, so not chaotic at all. We got to the port at 11:45 and they were already actually calling on the port arrival times for 12:30. So we just went on basically straight into the Disney check-in and security. Within 5-6 minutes, we were done with check-in, headed over to customs and security, and on the ship by 12:20. It's very smooth. We didn't stop walking.
We love a quick embarkation process. Well then, a little bit different, a little bit smaller than the Wish. What was it like boarding the Disney Wonder for the first time?
So beautiful. Yes, the Wish is grand, but the Wonder is classic. It is really, and I was nervous because I did hear that people were like, the Wonder's smaller, the atrium is tiny, the chandelier is not really a chandelier. And I was like, oh no. I'm glad I listened to none of it. I'm glad none of it got in my head because it is still so beautiful. And, once you walk onto that Disney cruise ship, that smell just gets you anyway. So you're just in a whole other mindset once you get onto that boat. It was still so beautiful and still grand. It was still grand.
Yeah, the classic ships are still so charming.
Yes. I actually realized I didn't even sign into the Wi-Fi because there was no time. Like we were just constantly walking and getting through. By the time I knew it, they were announcing our names to get onto the ship. It was great.
Well, you get on board. Where do you head first?
Well, with the Wish, we had done sit-down dining, but I guess everyone learned that TikTok secret, and the sit-down dining for lunch was Animator's Palette, but the person who greeted us said that it was a 30 to 40-minute wait for a table and that the buffet was basically empty. So we were like, let's go on up. We're hungry. Why not? And it was nice. Got some crab claws and some soup. And we actually sat outside because it was really nice weather in Vancouver. So we sat out and just enjoyed a leisurely lunch. And that's when I finally signed in to the ship's Wi-Fi and was able to see everything going on. And of course, a million things within the first hour happening. Open houses, any issues with dining. I think there was like a massage, like a spa sampler, it's called. So a lot going on just within the first hour. But we took a nice leisurely like hour lunch just to get our bearings, change my son, my father-in-law too. I wanted him to kind of take it all in. I didn't want it to be a rushed thing. We were going to be on the boat for 7 days anyway. So we definitely wanted to take our time at lunch. So we stayed there for about an hour. Before we knew it, the rooms were ready too. So we made our way to at 1:30 to our rooms.
What staterooms did you book and how did that work for your family?
We booked the Navigator Veranda, which is aft 5th floor. So we were 5638 and my father-in-law was right next to us, 5640. I am a little nervous with balconies and verandas with my 2-year-old. He's very good. He listens. He doesn't climb on things. He doesn't try to pull or tug or open things he's not supposed to, but I am still nervous. So for the Wish, we had done Family Deluxe Ocean View, the one with like the huge porthole, which we loved. He could go sit in the window, but everyone kept saying for Alaska, you need the veranda, you need the veranda. I am so happy we did it though, because the Navigator Veranda was beautiful. I had no fear that he was going to accidentally fall over. This, again, it's just like a mother's anxiety, but it was beautiful. We had the split bathroom. The room was spacious. The couch also could be made into a bed, which is where my son ended up sleeping. And the veranda was perfect. It kept out the rain, kept out the wind. We were out there pretty much every morning, every afternoon, even if it was raining, and we still felt warm. Would wear our like light coats, but we weren't like damp from the rain. It was really beautiful. I'm glad we did a veranda for Alaska. By the time our sailing, they were already giving out the new Castaway gifts, so we did get the nice backpack and the new lanyards, and they were nice. The backpack is sturdy. I always love when the backpack shoulder, like the straps are lined with like a nice foam. Very comfy, very good. We ended up using those for our excursions every day.
Awesome. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Wonder and your experience on her more in general. Alaska being a very exciting destination. We want to give a lot of time to those ports and what you did there. First off, you mentioned checking your son in for or getting him registered for the kids clubs.
So because he's 2.5, he technically would have been in the nursery. We ended up not having to utilize it because my father-in-law was with us. So if we ever wanted to go off, they were together, or if my husband and my father-in-law wanted to do something alone, I had my son. So we ended up registering him and then only going to the nursery once for open house. He preferred the Oceaneers Club, which we did a lot during the open houses where we could go with him. He just wanted to go up and down the slide like 17 times. He really liked that 3D Avengers thing that they have in the kids club. I forget what it is, but you're basically just, like virtual reality, I guess. He really liked that. They had also done like reading time with different characters. The one that we caught was reading time with Tiana. He really liked that as well, but we mostly did the open houses with him. We just didn't need to this time.
Well, good to know he enjoys those spaces though.
Oh, yes, definitely. And this one was themed to Andy's room, the Oceaneers Club, and he's a big Toy Story kid, so he was really into the kids club there.
What spaces around the Wonder kind of stood out to you and your family? Where did you find yourselves spending time, like on your evenings or your sea days?
We were at French Quarter Lounge a lot. There was just so much to do there. Family crafts, door hanger, where the kids could decorate their own little door hangers and door magnets. They had a lot of trivia, which we did not win. People really know their Disney trivia. Between my son distracting me and me eating the beignets, I would miss half the questions anyway. So that was a lot of fun. They had like a game show one night. We were at the French Quarter Lounge eating a lot of beignets, drinking a lot of hazelnut chais pretty much every day. Definitely loved how close it was to everything as well. Sometimes we would just be walking from the atrium and because we were aft, so we were walking towards our room and there would be something happening there and we would just end up there for another hour or so. We did get to check out some of the lounges as well. The French Quarter Lounge really was where we were a lot. We had our son with us. He wanted to do all the things. So that was kind of our hangout spot. And then our veranda. We were there a lot, just enjoying the scenery.
Nothing wrong with utilizing that veranda and stateroom that you spend oh so much money for.
So much.
What other like entertainment or activities did you see or do aboard the ship? Did you see any of the main stage shows?
Yes. Every night, whenever there was a larger Broadway style show, we made sure to catch it. We did not make as much of an effort like the smaller shows. I think there was Magician one night, and I want to say a ventriloquist. The first night was the Sail Away party, but it ends up being a little bit later because of some noise laws or noise rules in Vancouver. So when we started sailing away around like 4-ish, the sail wave party wasn't really until 7:45. So it was after our dinner that we did the early dining. It was after our dinner that first night. So that was the entertainment that day. And then they ended up after the sail wave, they kept playing music for the kids to dance. Again, that night in Vancouver was really warmer. When I say warmer, warm for Vancouver and Alaska. So that was the entertainment that first night. The next night would have been Golden Mickey's, which was unbelievable. Loved it. No notes. Fantastic. Really great show. I love how they are interviewing people coming in. It makes you feel like you're really at a red carpet show, but that was so much fun. We stayed for the entire show. Glacier Day would have been the Frozen deck party. But because of the weather, that ended up getting moved to our last sea day. So we had a character dance party in the atrium. That was fun. We never actually stand in front of the stage where the characters are. We're usually like on one of the higher decks. This dance party was on deck 3. We were up at deck 5 watching it from below. My son doesn't want to. He likes to dance on his own. He's his own vibe. So he's dancing on his own, doing his own thing, has more space, less people. So if your kid's not totally into being around a lot of people or care to like see the characters super up close, try watching it from deck 4 or 5. The next one would have been Frozen, actual Frozen, like they do the Broadway style Frozen show. We didn't love it. The puppets were kind of creepy that they use, and some of the voices that they were using for the characters, it creeped us out. My son was ready to go after Let It Go, and we were like, great. He was like, Mama, bed. And I was like, yep, let's go. It wasn't our favorite. Disney Dreams. Sorry. Disney Dreams. Another one. No notes. Fantastic. I think we prefer the almost different ones, like the shows where they're not
the variety type of shows.
Yeah. And I also like if they're just doing Little Mermaid or Aladdin, fine, cute. But I like these shows where they've created just for the cruises, like the Disney Dreams, Seize the Adventure, on the Wish, Golden Mickey's. Those were great. Overall entertainment, always something to do every night. There was also, they recently introduced, they said for this season of Alaska cruising, Broadway Stars series. So different Broadway stars come on and sing. Unfortunately, the 2 nights that they did it, I was so exhausted from excursions that we completely missed it. Wish we did it, but I know people that did watch them they loved it and had a great time. That I wish we did see.
Awesome. Well, let's go ahead and jump into dining here. So totally different set of restaurants and menus from when you were on the Wish, and quite a few more menus. What were some highlights from your meals, and what did you think of the restaurants on the Wonder overall?
The food was so good. I don't know what Disney does. Those chefs are incredible. I don't think there out of everything we ate and multiple appetizers, multiple entrees, I think there may have been 2 things where I was like, eh. Everything else was so, so good. And shout out to our servers for a second, because they learn you that first day. That's that Disney difference, right? They learn you that first night. Our server knew I loved seafood. I was getting like an extra lobster tail. I was getting an extra serving of the lemon dill shrimp. They do it right. The food was so good. Backtracking on the Wonder, there's Triton's, Animator's Palette, and Tiana's. I think Tiana's was my favorite, but it's like they were all equally. So yeah, they were all equally as good. Memorable things though. Definitely, there was like a dill and lemon shrimp at Triton's the first night. So good. I had 3 orders. Am I proud of that? No. Was it delicious? Yes. Would I do it again? Absolutely. There was a seafood soup stew thing at Tiana's. No notes. My goodness. Animator's Palette, we had a really, really good entrees there too. I think there was a chocolate walnut cake. Yes, that was Animators and it was delicious. But overall, everything was great food wise. We also did a Palo dinner.
Well, let's jump into that.
Yes. And I'm trying to remember it because that was the first night we were going to Tiana's. So we ate a full dinner at Tiana's and then we had like an hour gap and then we went to Palo, but we were going to eat it. We wanted all the food. Palo's great. We had done Palo brunch on the Wish. And I think I actually preferred Palo dinner. Our server was wonderful. He pretty much became our best friend by the end of the dining experience. But the food was great. It's more of a prefix, whereas the brunch is all you can eat, all you care to enjoy. Calamari was so good. The salad was great. My husband had the spicy pasta, and it was actually spicy, which we loved. Salmon was perfectly cooked, perfectly seasoned. I'm not a lemon tart person. My husband liked it. I preferred my chocolate souffle at brunch and at dinner, but it was great. We were able to eat everything at Tiana's and then go eat everything at Palo's. We were stuffed though. At the end of the night, we were so done.
Love it. Where did you find yourselves doing like your breakfasts and lunches?
We are not breakfast people, but we did force ourselves to kind of have something. It would mostly be like my husband running up to Cabanas, grabbing some yogurt, 2 Mickey waffles, and some apple juice. Another shout out to our servers because, again, the Disney difference. They learned that my son loves raspberries and strawberries. So every night they would pack him a bowl of raspberries and strawberries. So technically some mornings we didn't even need to get anything. That's all he wanted. And he knew exactly where to go get it in the little mini fridge. Breakfast we didn't do a ton of besides those 2 days with the Mickey churro waffles. Then I was up at 6:30 on the line waiting for Cabanas. But every other morning it was kind of like my father-in-law's grabbing something on his own where we ran up to just get some fruit and some juice. My husband grabbed some coffee. But aside from that, we're not huge breakfast people. But the churro waffles, I'll become a breakfast person for that. And on the Alaska sailing, it's 2 mornings of churro waffles. That's Glacier morning and then the last day at sea morning.
Good to know. We love a second churro waffle day.
Yes.
Do you have any other highlights from the Wonder itself before we start to talk about Alaska?
Just walk around the ship. It is beautiful. Going from place to place, it was nice just seeing the beautiful artwork, the carpets, the tiny little Disney hidden things in the hallways. The ship is very walkable. It's easy to navigate. It was great those days where we just were wandering or my son and I like to pixie dust. It's one of his favorite things to do on the cruises is giving out presents. So just wandering the halls and seeing all of the doors, seeing all the artwork. That was one of our favorite things to do when we weren't eating beignets at the French Quarter Lounge.
Love it. Well, let's go ahead because we have such an exciting itinerary and so many amazing ports and viewing opportunities here. Before we even jump into the ports, though, one of the unique and special things about a Disney Alaskan cruise is you get 2 sea days sailing the Inside Passage, where many ships sailing to Alaska may go one way through the Inside Passage. The Wonder goes up and back, which basically keeps you very close to land and gives you some really great opportunities to see nature both up and back to your ports. What were those experiences like?
Unreal. Everything was so beautiful. And the wildlife, the mountains, everything. It was really something. Just looking out the balcony in the mornings, you're seeing those orcas were really, really active in the morning. And again, we were aft. So for some reason, we saw a lot of wildlife, which was great, not complaining. It was something. It's something I think everyone should experience at least once in their life, whether they're doing Alaska or cruise wise, or if they're somehow just getting there, flying, seeing Alaska and the scenery, it's unmatched. And we've done Iceland, and I thought it was going to be very similar to Iceland. Nope, it's its own beauty for sure. Having the veranda was great because we didn't have to wrestle anybody for deck chairs, or some of the weather wasn't so fabulous and rainy. So having the veranda was great because we could just be out there with our little light sweaters and a blanket and watching everything. But it was a view. It was really something. It's etched in my mind, and I don't think I'll ever forget it.
So stunning, the entire sailing.
Yeah.
Where was your glacier day?
Ours was, I believe it was Endicott.
Endicott Arms.
I want to say yes. No, so we were Embark, Day at Sea, Glacier,
Okay.
Skagway, Juneau, Ketchikan, Day at Sea, Disembark.
Okay, so Glacier Day would be your first.
Yes, that was our technical second day at sea, but first port. That day also, side note, for all the parents or of Bluey lovers, Bluey and Bingo were on our cruise, and they did go out, do a little show with them in D Lounge twice during the sailing, once being Glacier Day, the second time being that day at sea on the last day at sea. So if your kids love Bingo and Bluey, just know that they are on the Wonder. I did see other parents posting about it in other Facebook groups also.
Well, let's jump in to that Glacier Day. So you're in Endicott Arm and Dawes Glacier. What was that experience like?
So the morning where all the characters meet on the deck, we actually had a ton of rain. It was really foggy. So we did not get those fantastic Mickey and Minnie pictures on the top deck with the glacier in the background. We didn't get that beautiful, beautiful view until maybe like 3-4 o'clock in the afternoon, when all the character meets were pretty much done at that point. But those lines were still really long. Like if you want those characters, if you want those pictures with the characters, I would say get online at like 7:30, 7:45. And they started taking pictures a little bit before 9. Definitely get online early. My one gripe with Disney is I wish they were able to not quickly, but change things a little bit, because the rest of the afternoon was beautiful and those characters weren't meeting on the top deck again. Or later on in the cruise too, like our Ketchikan day or our last day at sea, we had great weather, really clear skies. I wish they would have kind of pivoted and had those characters again on the deck at least once, because we didn't get it that morning. It was still great. We still got great pictures. The views eventually cleared up by like 1-2 o'clock when we actually were in the glacier. It worked out. I just wish we could have gotten those pictures with the characters. We did not do any excursions that day. You can do the smaller boat that goes closer to the glacier. From our veranda, I could see everything clearly. We were really close. And I know sometimes the Wonder, or any of the cruise lines, can't get super close, but we got really close and it was beautiful. I actually watched The Devil Wears Prada 2, and my husband was texting me like, we're like perfect angle from the glacier right now. Like, you need to come back. The movie was about to be done anyway, and we were on the 5th floor, so I quickly ran back to our room, and it was something. We've went to a couple of those nature talks that they were doing, and unfortunately, of course, like the glacier's getting much smaller. That was what they were saying in Iceland as well when we went. It's still a sight to see. It's really something.
Yeah, they are truly incredible.
Yeah. That day too, that morning, we saw a lot of humpback whales just breaching. That evening too, we saw a lot of dolphins. Just from your window, you can see this. And it's great for the viewers. If you're not in your Facebook groups already, definitely join them. You're going to meet a lot of great people. And we had like a WhatsApp chat for our cruise. Same thing with the Wish. And we actually had like a little subdivision of whale watching. So anytime someone saw something, they were putting it in there. And it was very easy just to like run out to the balcony to see. I'm not a whale watcher. I wasn't really sitting out there like staring, but it was great to have someone being like, starboard, aft, humpback whale. And I'm like, oh, great, there it is. Thank you. So kind of cheated, but it was worth it.
We're not a whale watcher until you're out watching the whales.
Yes. And that day, too, was supposed to be the Frozen Deck Show, which we still had the Frozen menu that night at Animator's Palette, but the deck show got moved inside on the last sea day.
Well, you've spent a couple of days on the ship. It is finally time to set your feet on Alaskan soil with such an incredible port, Skagway. What did you have planned for Skagway?
So Skagway, our itinerary was go see the town, do some shopping, look around, maybe grab something to eat. And then we had a 12 o'clock booking that we booked through Disney for the White Pass Railway. It would have been about a 2.5, 3 hour excursion. And it ultimately was fantastic. A little disorganized at the beginning. They were saying to meet on the pier. Then we got to the pier and they were like, nope, we're meeting at 11:30 on the dot. No sooner, no later. And we were like, okay, we're here anyway. So we took some pictures. We walked around. We got saltwater taffy is a big thing in Skagway. We saw them in like all of the shops. So we grabbed some souvenirs. Klondike Doughboy, sorry, not the donuts. Jellyfish Donuts is in Ketchikan, which I'll talk about. But Klondike Doughboy, got that. Walked around a little bit more. Got back at 11:25. And the line was basically all the way up the pier. So we were like, okay, no worries. You told us 11:30 on the dot. We checked in just fine. This excursion, it was weird because usually you meet inside in one of the either French Quarter Lounge or Azure, something like that. But this was meeting at the pier. Getting onto the train was not so smooth because, again, they kind of weren't directing people where to sit. So people had bags on seats. People whose kids were under the age of 3 who technically were supposed to be like lap infants were sitting in seats. The 4 of us were getting like separated. I was like, no, we paid for this as a family. We booked through Disney because they are a family company. Can we at least sit in the same car? Everyone was like taking up not the right amount of seats. And it's like a fully booked excursion. Eventually, they sorted that out. We did end up getting seats. Aside from all of that, once the train ride started, it was beautiful. The views are great. A couple of people saw bears. We did not. The bear ran really quickly. It was a great experience, though. It was beautiful. They did sell snacks, hats, drinks on the train in case you don't bring. But it was great. It was about 2.5. Ours actually ran almost 3 hours, so just be aware of that. So sometimes it can go a little bit longer if you have another excursion. But we were back in the town by 3. Ours was 12 to 3.
If you were to go to Skagway again, is there something else that had caught your eye that you would maybe do instead, or would you do that same excursion?
No, I would do that one again. I really loved it. I believe there was something with the Yukon rail where it actually passes back over to Canada and you need your passport. We didn't do that one, but I would do that one again. Those views were insane. Going through all the tunnels. Just the tunnels were my favorite because you never know when you come out what it's going to look like. So it was almost the anticipation of what view am I going to see next? But it was great. We saw a ton of waterfalls. Once you got up there, there's still so much snow. So it was nice seeing that. But overall, it was great. And once we got back on the boat, of course, warm towels and hot cocoa waiting for you, which again, that's the Disney difference. But we just had a quick lunch on the boat, like late lunch, early dinner on the boat. We just did some deck food. We love chicken tenders and fries. Can't go wrong with a crispy chicken tender. And then before we knew it was time for dinner anyway.
Especially a post-excursion Disney chicken tender.
Yes, with then the ice cream to go right after, of course, because Skagway in the morning, no, that whole day actually was beautiful. Like it was warm. We were kind of layering. We're from New York, so we know to layer. We know the gear to bring. It was warm though. I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't not have layered this much, but better safe than sorry.
Awesome. Well, let's move on to your next day, which is Juneau. What did you have planned for Juneau?
Juneau was awesome. Weather wasn't fabulous, but we did the dog sled summer camp. So fun. It was really early in the morning. So again, quick grabbing breakfast from the buffet, eating in the room as we're getting ready. The night before, actually, when we got back from dinner, our stateroom attendant had pixie dusted our son with some character sheets. He saw that he was into Marvel, so he got some Marvel, Thor, Captain America, Iron Man sheets, which he loved. So my son was He was a little mad to get out of bed this morning, but we were like, no, you're going to see doggies. You're going to see a lot of doggies. It's going to be so fun. You'll play with the doggies, pet the doggies. That got him up. It was 7:50, 7:30. We needed to be in Azure to check in, which again, I preferred that, like meeting in a spot and then going to our buses. It was probably about a 20-minute drive up to the camp. They gave us a nice history of everything. It was cold that day. It was chilly. And that's the fun thing about Alaska. The weather switch up is be prepared. Definitely be prepared. They gave us a little history on the dogs. We met a lot of the mushers, learned their history, saw all the equipment, and then we actually got to go on a summer sled. We didn't do the excursion, the helicopter one, so not a sled.
It's like a big go-kart almost that the dogs pull.
It fit about 10 people, which those dogs are strong. They're fast and they're strong. But it was so great. Our pictures of just the dogs pulling us with the mountains in the back, and again up there's snow, so it was great. It was a really fun experience. I will say, hold your children really tight. Again, the dogs get excited, and you don't want any accidents. You can definitely pet. They were good about after the ride, kind of you interacting with the dogs, so that was really nice as well. I know some of the excursions like that people have done, they said there were no sled ride, no dog interaction, so this one was really nice. It was about a 2.5, 3-hour excursion, but because it was so early in the morning, we were back on the ship by like 10:30. We're like, the day's not even halfway done yet.
Did you get out and do anything else in Juneau?
Yes, later on in the day, we ended up going back to the ship, kind of warming up a little bit, drying off a little bit. Kids Club open house. My son wanted to go on the slide. So we were back on the ship for about 2 hours. I actually stayed with my son because after the Kids Club, he was super tired and wanted to nap. But my father-in-law and my husband went out into the town. They did a lot of shopping. The town is really cute, quaint. The lineup for Tracy's, I think they said, was really long, so they didn't bother. But lots of shopping. They did some shopping. The towns are very cute. There is also something to note that Disney does not dock like in the main town. But there is a shuttle that runs every like 5 to 8 minutes. So that's something to keep in mind as well.
Were you docked kind of right on the other side of the Skyliner?
The Skyliner, yes, they did. And that is closed, by the way, for everyone listening. But my father-in-law and husband said they were trying to get on it, and they were like, no, this is closed. I didn't get to go to Juneau into the actual town, but based on what they said, it seemed really nice.
Love it. Yeah, we did that same sled dog summer camp excursion, and I was so surprised that we sat down and they do that little like info, like, hey, here's some history. And the guy was like, this is a picture of my great grandfather. He started the Iditarod, and I've raced the Iditarod however many times. I was like, oh, these are like, yes, it's a tourist attraction. Like, obviously they are there to get your business, but it's also has a really like deep, authentic layer of like, these are people taking care of their own dogs, doing the actual race that they're teaching you and being involved in it. And I thought that was super cool.
Yeah, our musher was showing us like all the pieces of his actual sled, and they live there. Every human you interact with at that excursion, they live there. He showed us his little hut tent thing, and they're up there in the rain, in the sleet, in the snow with those dogs. Like those dogs are their life.
Yeah, even our bus driver that was there, he's like, oh yeah, I work for the summer camp. He's like, when it's not the summer camp, I drive the bus that drives the dogs around to the races.
Oh.
He's like, yeah, I'm here all year. He's like, in the summer we do the summer camp, and then when it's race season, I drive around to the races.
Amazing. That was great. Yeah. Overall, it was great. Very authentic, like you said. And it was nice seeing how well they take care of the dogs.
Absolutely. Well, let's jump in to your next port stop. Very fun one, Ketchikan. What did you get up to here?
Ketchikan is so cute. We did a leisurely morning. That was the morning where Tiana was doing the book reading. So we were in the kids club for a bit. Our excursion that day was the exclusive Disney Great American Lumberjack show. and which wasn't until 3. So we did have a leisurely morning to hang out on the boat, but also go out into Ketchikan. It was warm that day. My husband and my son ended up going up to the top deck and they played basketball. We were taking pictures out there. Really beautiful scenery. We ended up getting off. We walked up and down just to see the boat itself, just to appreciate it. We knew it was going to be kind of one of our last days to really look at the boat on the outside. As much as you're on inside, the outside is equally as beautiful. We walked over to the Ketchikan sign first, did all the touristy things. We did Creek Street. We did the salmon walk. I think I saw some salmon. My husband says I did not see salmon, but I swear I saw something jumping. Who knows? But we did the salmon walk. That was it was uphill, but it was really nice. Again, really nice day. We also we needed my son to take a nap. And we stumbled on the Discovery Center, which was basically different exhibits about Ketchikan and the history of Ketchikan. But it's also dark and has a movie that plays every half an hour. So if you need a spot for your children to sleep, the Discovery Center is great, and it's $5, $6 a person to go in. All the money goes right back into the Discovery Center. So that was great. The exhibits were great. A lot of how Ketchikan does fishing, how Ketchikan sustains itself, different exhibits about the history of Ketchikan. We stumbled on that, but that was a great find. They do a lot of nature movies as well. With Alaska, that is where my son napped for an hour and a half. So that was great. After that, by that time, it was almost 3:00. So we headed over to the lumberjack show. They said to meet at 3 and they would start checking us in by 3:30.
What did you think of the lumberjack show?
So cute. It was definitely loud. It was fun. We did specifically the Disney one because our son's obsessed with Goofy. Goofy comes out, does a 10-15 minute warm up with the kids. That was really cute. Our son had a blast with the actual lumberjack show. He just kept screaming chop, chop, chop. And I'm like, do you actually understand what they're doing? He's like, yeah, mama, chop wood. I'm like, okay.
He's not wrong.
He's not wrong. He got it. Just, makes me feel good that he enjoyed all of the excursions. Very cute show. Insane how they really chop that wood so quickly. Good for them. Overall show was great. I will say if you're on that later showing, try to leave just 10 minutes before the show ends, and you'll know when the show is about to end because you'll beat the crowds headed back to the ship. I would say just a 5 minutes. You're not going to miss much if you're leaving 5 minutes before. And the show is literally 15 steps from the boat, so you don't have to worry about all aboard time being 5:30 and the show finishing at that time. They're not going to leave you. It's right there. Any
other highlights from Ketchikan?
Everywhere you walked, you were able to see the stream that was going through the city. It was really a nice city, but lots of nice views. And as you're doing the salmon walk, you're going upward, so you're able to see, all the way downstream. It was a really nice little town. That's where the jellyfish donuts was. Delicious. I love a dessert. I love a donut, but really good. Now thinking back, we didn't do a lot of eating outside the boat, but those little pastry things we did were really good.
Love it. Is there anything in this port or any other excursions you had looked at that you would consider doing next time?
I was looking at it, but then we didn't. There was a whale and bear watching excursion. I probably would have done. I think we were originally looking at it, but I'm kind of glad we didn't because we saw so much wildlife on the boat. And I know some people were saying, yes, you get a little closer, but I'm good seeing an orca from afar, I think. I almost rather see them from afar.
I love it. Well, sadly, though, all sailings have to come to an end, even ones as epic as an Alaska sailing. We will go through your disembarkation, and then I will have a couple more questions to go over. But what was your disembarkation process like back in Vancouver?
So we had a 12 o'clock flight home, which Disney tells you 12 o'clock is the earliest you should do. Originally, I think our flight was 12:30, 12:45, and Delta moved it up. Our flights back to New York were not great options. It was 12:30 p.m. or 10:30 p.m., which would have landed the next day. So we were like, okay, I think we can do it. It was a little stressful because I get stressed out with stuff like that, with like such tight timing things. But we, just like the Wish, we had done express walk-off, which started at 7:50 a.m. We were off the boat through security and customs by like 8:15 and waiting for, again, yellow taxi because I did not have a car seat. We were at the airport at 8:45 and sitting in the lounge at 9:15. So did I have to worry? No. Was I worried anyway? Yes. Smooth disembarkation process. I don't think I'm the type, I can be the person to leave my suitcase out the night before. I just need too many. I think of too many things. I can't think of packing at that time. So I rather just keep all my stuff with me. It was a long lineup. It seemed like a lot of people had flights that were leaving early. But once the line actually starts moving, you're off the boat in a few minutes.
Awesome. Well, then jumping back into it with a couple final questions. So you mentioned having some hesitations about maybe bringing your 2-year-old on this Alaska sailing. What is some advice you would give to someone else making that consideration? And would you do it again?
Absolutely. Hands down. I would do it again. Some advice would be to go with the flow. Don't overpack for your kids because Disney also provides a lot of stuff. Don't think about bringing little diaper bags or your own sheets or things like that. We got a diaper genie from our cabin host, the little bed they made up for us. They have a lot of things, bottle warmers. They have all of those. Like our 2-year-old doesn't have bottles anymore. Disney provides a lot of things that you don't need to bring. And I think Disney's probably the perfect place if you are thinking of a bigger or longer trip with a young child. Probably the best cruise line to go with. Even on a European sailing, it's just easy to get on the boat in one spot, and then that is your floating hotel for the next few days. We travel a lot. Our son has been to a lot of places, and I think cruising is the easiest way to travel with him now. But we've done, like last October, we did India, and we were in a lot of different hotels and a lot of different cars and flights. And that was tricky, but really the goal is for him to become like a flexible, adaptable traveler and to bring the grandparents. That's a big one too. If you have a grandparent to bring, I would say the easiest way to travel. Definitely, if you're thinking about it and your child is 1, 2, 3, you're not sure if it's going to work, it's going to work. The people on board, the crew members are there to help you. And Vancouver has, if you forget something, Vancouver has everything. Alaska has pharmacies and stores that you can buy diapers at, can buy wipes at. So if you're hesitant, do it.
What is something that you feel like you missed out on this Alaska sailing that would, or a must do for next time?
The only thing I can think of is potentially that helicopter to the glacier and dog sledding there. We did not do that because they don't allow our son wouldn't have been able to go. But I'm not entirely sure because we did something similar in Iceland and it was wonderful. But I feel like we got as much as we could out of this cruise, and just the views the views alone were enough for us.
Spectacular views all the way around in Alaska.
Yeah, that last day at sea where you're just getting the views of the Inside Passage on your way out, it was really something.
Did your family utilize the photo package at all?
Oh, yeah. Another thing that if you're thinking of or hesitant about, do it. I think we had about 550 pictures on our photo package. Our room got it because my father-in-law was like, I'm not taking pictures alone. Like, I'll be taking pictures with you guys. But we had a lot of pictures. I like pictures. I like photo shoots. Anytime we go somewhere on a trip, I'm that mom that is booking the photo shoot. We're on the beach taking a photo shoot. We're doing the photo shoots. So to have someone else take care of those photos for me is always another something I don't need to think about. I love pictures. I love memories. And the photo package is definitely worth it.
Love it. Did you have any other notable cast interactions from this sailing?
Yes. Our dining service was fabulous. We had Supacha from Thailand. So she told her nickname is Miss Spicy, and that she was. And then Joao he's from Goa, India. He had such a dry, funny sense of humor, but my father-in-law has that as well. So the two of them really hit it off and were besties by night 3. The two of them learned us by the first night. And there were berries waiting on the table for my son. My husband loves an iced tea, a sweet tea. That was waiting for him at the table. They learned that my father-in-law with dessert, likes a cup of tea. By the second night, they were automatically bringing us those things. They wanted to play with my son. They wanted to talk to my son. They wanted to make him laugh. They were fantastic. Emmanuel from Palo became our best friend by the end of the night. It was so organic, him chatting with us and us talking about our lives. He was great. And guest services just kept constantly asking how we were doing. There was a small issue when we were coming back on the boat one day where someone had taken my father-in-law's jacket and security wasn't being super helpful, but guest services was immediately fantastic. They got the jacket back. They were super apologetic and constantly from that one interaction, constantly checking on us the rest of the cruise. And we were like, we're fine. We promise. We're okay. But again, the Disney difference, I guess.
Love it. Well then, Areeka, my last question for you. What is next for you and your family?
Oh, man. We have a lot going on. Disney-wise this year, we head to Orlando a lot. We have a lot of family there. So every time we go, we're always stopping in at a park or two. August, I'm doing a solo with my brother and his family. It'll be my nephew's first Disney trip. So we're going to do probably Animal Kingdom and some kind of dining experience. He's only 7 months, so we want to slowly get him into the Disney world. Non-Disney this year, we're doing Costa Rica and Peru. Next year, we already, with our placeholder from the Wish, booked the Fantasy. My son will turn 3 on that cruise, which we're super excited for. That'll be a Nassau, Lookout, and Day at Sea, a 4-night. And then with the placeholder, I ended up getting 2 staterooms from this Alaska cruise. And it'll be my brother and his family's first cruise with Disney. We're doing the Destiny. And that one too will be a 4-night. Nassau, Castaway, which I think is great for a first cruise. I think Castaway should be it. And Day at Sea. My brother is older than me by a couple of years, and he's super into Marvel, which is why I am into Marvel. So that boat is going to be really memorable for us.
Love it. Sounds like some exciting both sailings and trips coming up for sure. Well, we hope you have a fantastic time on all of those trips. Well, Areeka, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your Alaska sailing. Where can our listeners follow you?
Sure. On Instagram, my handle is at AREEKA __. If you guys wanted to see pictures from the cruise, or if you had any questions about Disney with toddlers or cruising with toddlers or just traveling with toddlers overall, we travel a lot. My son is 2.5, and I think he's been to 8 states and 7 countries. So if you guys have any questions about just traveling with toddlers or Disney with toddlers, you can reach me on Instagram.
Love it. Areeka, thank you so much again for coming on and sharing your sailing.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for listening. As always, you can follow Christy at Pack Your Pixie Dust or utilize her travel services by using the book with Christy linked right down below. You can follow myself at MouseGen on Instagram and YouTube, and you can follow the podcast at DCL Podcast on Facebook and Instagram, or find more information at our website, dclpodcast.com. But that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you next time on the DCL Podcast. Bye, guys.
Well, that's going to wrap up the show. Once again, we want to thank Areeka for coming on and sharing her family's adventure to Alaska. If you're enjoying the show, we greatly appreciate you leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. We would also like to thank our Patreons who make this show happen each and every week for us. You too can help support the show by visiting us at patreon.com/DCLpodcast. Whether you're boarding a cruise, enjoying a trip to the parks, or adventuring outside of Disney, on behalf of myself, Christy, and Steve, we want to wish you smooth sailings and safe travels. And we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast.
The DCL podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney Company.